Greetings and welcome to Rota's Classic Review Time. Today we have no doubt one of the best classic black metal albums from Norway. That is from the 1990s era Norsecore classic. Yes, what we have here is Emperor in the Nightside Eclipse. Well, I don't know if this makes very much sense to kind of show you the album, but since these classic reviews are always about kind of a time, this era, well, why the hell not? Now, the reason why I chose this album for this September 2018 classic review is the reason that we did Ihsahn and Emperor interviews in or at Tuska 2018 festival, which you might have probably seen already. If you haven't, go to the interview section and you can pretty much find with a few clicks the Emperor and Ihsahn interviews, the two separate ones, because one is all about Emperor. They did a anthems themed gig at Tuska, and the other is about Ihsahn's solo band, solo career. Both have kind of topics that kind of interacted with each other. Well, not interact, but overlap anyways. So they are kind of two sides of the same story, but a little bit different questions, obviously, because they were done back to back. But this time we're talking about this album called In the Nightside Eclipse, which to many people, including me, is the best Emperor release of all time. Some worship even more the material that was done prior to this one. Some are more in the anthems era, and some probably, for whatever reasons, beyond to my understanding, are about the ones that came laterwards. But this is the album that, in my opinion, defined the whole band more than anything before or after that, and also became kind of a cornerstone of a certain type of Nordic black metal. So without further ado, let's start going into the album. Well, this album cover already is kind of a classic with its bluish, little bit kind of a purple shaded cover. I know the colors are not exactly the same that you get to see because of lighting and whatnot, but well, despite the actual colors and despite this being kind of a cover related to Dissection Storm of the Lightsbane, which is another classic black metal album, well, this one is kind of a some of the era. They are kind of a goblin or orc-like creatures with their spiked maces and clubs. There's a kind of a tower that is very much related to times when Tolkien and all the other fantasy creatures, inspired the black metal world more than anything. There's this classic rider in the sky, of course, full moon, and the very kind of a dark, gloomy atmosphere. On the backside, we get to see these ruins, which are, of course, more the daylight stuff, kind of creating nice contrast. Now, this CD version, as you can see, is pretty old, so not that much was put into the covers as much as nowadays. This even old mail order, this kind of a piece of paper here, which is kind of a fun, hilarious to look at the time. And obviously we have the lyric sheet, which is just very simple and for some reason separate from the booklet. And of course, with the backside of the album, we have the lineup pictures. And this is yet another kind of a thing of the era. Back then, bands could have been, pictured as, with this kind of a separate images, and they might have these kind of a frames. This is not the only album that had this kind of a setup. So kind of very much the 1990s kind of a stuff, which is not that common nowadays unless we go full retro. And then we have this nice looking CD print also, which is in some ways so beautiful. But the real majesty, the real treasure on this album is obviously the music. I mean, the lyrics are pretty damn good, considering that these guys were in their teens, even like mid-teens when they were creating this music. Especially Ihsahn, which I just learned at Tuska. I probably have read it before, but now I just figured that he's actually the same age as me, born in 1975, which is kind of curious because, when I found Ember in somewhere like mid 90s, and I got to see them for the first time in, I think it was 1997, in Helsinki, Finland. I mean, I was, like looking up to these guys, obviously, because they had, so much stuff going on. And they got into black metal earlier than me, which is kind of a given, I guess. But the thing is that it was so funny that, at those times when black metal second wave was kind of a new thing, finding these guys was different than nowadays teenagers. They were setting the rules even when they were young, rather than being just some random followers, which seems to be the case with nowadays youngsters. So things have changed so much in the past 25 years. But like I said, the lyrics are great, yeah, at least in the given genre. But the music, I mean, the composition speed, Ihsahn's work with keyboards, synthesizers, whatever, or Samoth's guitar work, and Ihsahn's vocals and all that stuff, they are so goddamn magical, in the sense of creating this kind of a symphonic black metal. Now, many bands have tried to copy or get inspired and do their own version of Emperor's early works with their kind of a symphonic black metal, including lots of course, synthesizers, but also these melodic riffs. These, the guitar work that kind of defines the whole music more than anything, even more so than the synths used here. And also some clean vocals which appear like Satana and all that stuff. And then again, all these details are just underlining this creative genius thing, which, in my opinion, in the Nightside Eclipse is basically all about. Now, if you compare this album to any other Norwegian album at the time, I mean, especially the more meaningful bands, think of like Immortal, Burzum, Mayhem, and so forth, they are all very different. Whereas Burzum was also about being atmospheric and somewhat melodic. It's very different from Emperor's more kind of a beautifully carved synthesizer feeling black metal with its something we might nowadays just call atmospheric black metal. And then again, Mayhem was more violent, maybe more darker, more sinister, and so forth. And Immortal was kind of a on and off, kind of off-roadish black metal with its not so satanic lyrics, but also very much more violent playing. Not to mention Darkthrone, which then again is more raw, more primitive, and all that stuff. And nowadays we could see that Emperor's type of creating this beautiful carved synth-feeling black metal is kind of easy listening. It's kind of a soft even when you think of the whole black metal, I mean the whole genre, what kind of riffs or production has been used since that. But in the Nightside Eclipse was doing kind of a pioneer work with its music. I mean, when you compare it to the kind of a first wave of black metal, it doesn't matter if you compare it to King Diamond stuff or Celtic Frost or Venom or I don't know, Bathory, they're so much different. It's not like they used so massively synths to create this atmospheric, even beautiful, but at the same time very dark metal music, which then again was also kind of underlined with this kind of a screamy and shrieky vocals, which then again kind of became the trademark elements of black metal, especially the second wave. I mean, there's huge difference if we compare second wave black metal to first wave when things were just more diverse, different, and all that. But in the Nightside Eclipse, it has really easily stood the test of time. I just gave another listen just before doing this video, even though I have listened to this one so many times throughout the years. I've already written before a classic review, actually when they were doing a in the Nightside Eclipse kind of a 20th anniversary tour. I had a written review already made, so I basically know what I'm talking about, or at least I think that I know what I'm talking about. But still, I had to give the kind of a fresh listen, like as if to just suggest that my opinions might have changed, or if there are some details that I should, remember, get kind of a fresh ideas. And once again, I got to say that this album feels timeless. It's this beautiful piece of melodic symphonic black metal that is just so much better than basically any other uh, release in this given subgenre. I don't know if ever there will be better album from this niche than Emperor's album. I really doubt it. And as far as I'm concerned, this is as close to perfection in the given subgenre than ever an album every album ever can be. This is the defining album, the cornerstone of synth-filled, atmospheric black metal, and once that has been said, I rest my case. Emperor, great band, and especially this particular album. 5 stars thing with a classic touch. What else can I say? Go listen to it, go check out Emperor reviews, and hope you enjoyed. See you soon. Bye bye.